We want to leave segregation in our past.
Unless our children begin to learn together, our people will never learn to live together.
You take from her. When you get older, she's going to take from you. People that have been here deserve the right to have the same access.
I'm excited about the possibility of charter schools integrating students.
PS8 in Brooklyn Heights is one of New York City's most sought-after public elementary schools. It's surrounded by luxury condominiums and 19th century townhouses. Young families pay top dollar to move into the zone, with the goal of laying claim to one of PS8's coveted kindergarten spots. 3/4 of a mile from PS8 is another elementary school called PS307. It serves a tiny section of Brooklyn that on the map looks like it was carved out of the area assigned to PS8, and the zone is fully occupied by a public housing project. As a result, demographically, these two schools, just a short distance apart, look nothing alike. Many more of PS307's students come from economically disadvantaged homes, and the school has a significantly larger minority population. And there's nothing unusual about this particular district. Race and class divisions exist in public schools all over America, 62 years after the Supreme Court ruled against separate but equal. School lines are drawn in a way that keeps kids rich and poor, black and white, apart. Wendy Lecker is a senior attorney at the Education Law Center.
We have been steadily resegregating, and our schools now are more segregated today than they've been in 40 years.
The public schools have always, at least in theory, been the glue that holds our society together.
Richard Collenberg is a senior fellow at the left-leaning Century Foundation.
If we have a system where everyone goes off to their own school, then we've lost something significant in our society.
Now, in this particular district in Brooklyn, with PS8 experiencing severe overcrowding, the community is making a serious attempt to bring more integration.
This is a single instance where we have an opportunity to say that we believe in diversity, and we want to leave segregation in our past.
In early January, a local board that represents the district voted 6-3 to redraw the boundary between PS8 and PS307. In theory, this will mean hundreds of white affluent families will start sending their kids to a school that's currently predominantly poor and minority. But will parents go along with the plan? Richard Collenberg says the rezoning may not lead to the desired result.
I don't know what will happen in this particular case, but in general, the lesson of integration over the past 30 or 40 years has been don't just compulsorily reassign families and expect integration to occur. Upper middle class families have options. They can move to a different district. They can send their children to private school.
One of the neighborhoods reassigned from PS8 to PS307 is called Dumbo, which happens to be the most expensive place to live in all of Brooklyn.
Listen to the public feedback and vote no on the rezoning proposal for 2016-17.
One parent from the neighborhood was quoted in the New York Times saying he would consider sending his child to the school. But is it at the level of a PS8, however? It's not truly clear. Another parent characterized PS307 as severely underperforming, adding, "I don't want to be the bad guy in the room, but no one else wants to talk about it."
Parents know the evidence, which suggests that the biggest predictor of academic achievement is the socioeconomic status of the family a child comes from. The second biggest predictor is the socioeconomic status of the peers in a school. If a few middle-class kids end up in an extremely high poverty school, they may not end up doing very well.
We could improve schools all together when we're all in the same boat.
Wendy Lecker, on the other hand, says rezoning is an effective tool to bring diversity. She wants the city to go farther and redraw the lines for every school in the district to reflect the reality that 70% of the families living in the community are poor.
I'm not sure I have this clear. Every school in District 13 should be 70% economically disadvantaged.
If not, they're going to be imbalanced, aren't they? If not, if you have 90% in one and 20% in the other, it's not fair.
Middle class parents have options. What makes you think that the parents are going to send their kids to a public school where 70% of the kids are economically disadvantaged?
I think there's a lot of education that needs to happen. As I said, schools have been resegregating for years and years, so many parents don't themselves have experience with integrated education. I have a little more faith in parents that when they look at the actual school, when they understand the benefits of being in a diverse school district, they will choose to participate in the public school system.
But there is one school in the district called PS 282 that already precisely fits that bill. It's majority black and poor, but the famously liberal parents in the surrounding neighborhood of Park Slope, who are zoned for PS 282, have overwhelmingly shunned the school. Parents tend to be most concerned with the quality of the teachers and principal. When a school has a lousy reputation, upper middle class parents find a way to avoid sending their kids there. But when a school does have everything going for it, those same parents are notorious for moving in aggressively and edging everybody else out.
I don't like what's happening. I don't like what's happening.
Those most outspoken against the rezoning weren't Dumbo residents, but parents from PS 307 and those who live in the housing project that it currently serves. They say despite its low test scores, PS 307 is a terrific school, and now white gentrifiers are coming to take what's theirs.
Stop lying. What we're trying to do is segregate 307.
All that we will get if this plan goes through is another PSA.
You cannot take from those that were there to give to others that are just coming in.
Oh, you think they're going to take over the school?
I do.
You take from her. When you get older, she's going to take from you.
Thank you.
There are people who feel like, oh, I will only go to this school if they're not there. What they say they want, they're actually killing.
Justice Thurgood Marshall said, unless our children begin to learn together, our people will never learn to live together.
The primary reason to be for diversity is equity. Low-income students in middle-class schools are as much as 2 years ahead of low-income students stuck in high-poverty schools.
Both Wendy Lecker and Richard Collenberg support an alternative school assignment system called Controlled Choice, which has begun to garner some interest in New York City. Under this approach, there would be no intra-district school zones, so parents who live within a district could apply to all schools located in that district. And then each school would aim for a diverse mix of students when deciding who to admit. Richard Collenberg wants to go even farther in disconnecting where a child lives from where he or she gets to go to school.
Because charter schools are open to students, sometimes indeed anywhere in a metropolitan area, they offer the possibility of higher levels of integration.
Walking distance from PS 8 and PS 307, there are already 3 charters with diversity as part of their core mission. Charters are public schools that are free from many of the bureaucratic rules that govern traditional public schools, and they aren't strictly tied to a particular neighborhood, so kids from anywhere in the city can apply for a slot. The newest of the bunch is the International Charter School of New York. Matthew Levy is the school's executive director.
So we have everybody from parents who work on Wall Street to families who live in transitional housing, or they're doubled up with another family living in somebody else's house while they're trying to find a place. Diversity is something that everybody should value, but I don't know that forcing parents to value it, if you force them to value it, then they don't.
Because they chose to send their kids there, Levy's parents tend to be on board with the school's mission.
My child was actually going to attend another school, and it would have been predominantly African American kids.
Tiffany Jones's son, Kawan, is a kindergartner at the school.
In order to be successful, I feel that the younger you start being exposed to different things, the better.
I was very enclosed, and the stuff that I was taught is actually somewhat very racist.
Hannah Sudransky was raised as a Hasidic Jew in a tight-knit community. She wants her son, who's a kindergartner at the school, to be raised with a different set of values.
Not everybody's like you, and your judgments on other people or what you think other people are is not real.
It might have been a month into the school year. Kawan was invited to a party by one of his classmates. I met someone there who was a surgeon, and I have a degree in pharmacy technology, and she was very nice and gave me a lot of useful information, and moving forward I intend on getting my certification, and she gave me her number and email and told me, send me your resume, and it was very nice.
To fill out next year's kindergarten class, Levy has to sell enough parents on the idea that the school is right for their children.
I think from a parent perspective, diversity is kind of like a side dish that you're entitled to if you give out the meat and potatoes of a safe, warm, loving school environment, a rigorous curriculum led by teachers who care and know what they're doing. So if you do those things, then you're entitled to talk about diversity.
Today, most charter schools aren't diverse at all, but Collenberg believes that if parents had more choices, many would recognize the immense benefits and opt to send their kids to integrated schools.
I'm excited about the possibility of charter schools, empowering teachers and integrating students.
And that would help end the fighting, after all these years, over how lines are drawn on a map.
We want to leave segregation in our past.
Unless our children begin to learn together, our people will never learn to live together.
You take from her. When you get older, she's going to take from you. People that have been here deserve the right to have the same access.
I'm excited about the
It's surrounded by luxury condominiums and 19th century townhouses. Young families pay top dollar to move into the zone, with the goal of laying claim to one of PS8's coveted kindergarten spots. 3/4 of a mile from PS8 is another elementary school called PS307. It serves a minority population, and there's nothing unusual about this particular district. Race and class divisions exist in public schools all over America. 62 years after the Supreme Court ruled against separate but equal, school lines are drawn in a way that keeps kids rich and poor, black and white, apart. Wendy Lecker is a senior
possibility of charter schools integrating students.
PS8 in Brooklyn Heights is one of New York City's most sought-after public elementary schools. It's a tiny section of Brooklyn that on the map looks like it was carved out of the area assigned to PS8. And the zone is fully occupied by a public housing project. As a result, demographically, these two schools, just a short distance apart, look nothing alike. Many more of PS307's students come from economically disadvantaged homes, and the school has a significantly larger